Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Sports fans have no moral or civic obligation to cheer for bad teams. Their incompetence is not your fault, and let's be honest, nobody wants to be associated with losers. But decent sports towns have some guidelines, like they do not quit on a team that is trailing 2 games to zip in a championship series, and that seems to be the backdrop, if not the soundtrack, of today's Game 3 at Chase Field. Plenty of tickets seem to be available, and they're cheap. The get-in price has plummeted 90% to a mere $5, and by contrast, the get-in price for Game 1 in Philly was nearly $500. Now, there's a reason for this. The timing of the game is atrocious, effectively muting the hype and the rallying cry, and instead of sinking our fangs into a primetime matchup tonight in downtown Phoenix, the Diamondbacks might actually be down 3-zip before you leave work this afternoon. Like I said, it's not great, and I fear Chase Field is going to look like the wrong kind of red today, because if you're a Diamondbacks fan, the optics of this series might not justify calling in sick or leaving work early, but if you're a Phillies fan living in the desert, you believe this is your chance to witness a historic team on its way to a championship. Either way, this is not just our baseball team versus theirs. This is our fan base versus theirs. This is our city versus theirs. And no matter what our baseball team does on the field, those in attendance cannot give up without a fight. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
No, it was loud. It was loud, and they were on their feet the whole time. They also hit 2 homers in the first on Monday, and then they hit a homer in inning 1 and then inning 3 last night. The fans are excited because they keep hitting homers and getting them excited, especially after the introductions and the whole thing. That was the worst thing that could have happened to us was getting down early and obviously Zach and Merle are doing the absolute best that they can. It just didn't work out for us while we're there. But I think when you get the crowd going like that and then they get those big leads early, that's they're going to be extra loud and Philly fans are extra loud and it was quite the environment. It was unlike anything I had seen. I've played in. I think this is my 5th playoff series, but that was the first time I'd ever had a playoff game where nobody sat down for 9 innings regardless.
That was Paul Sewald of the Diamondbacks on the Foul Territory podcast commenting on the Game 1 and Game 2 atmospheres at Citizens Bank Park. It's been one of the big talking points for the postseason throughout baseball is not only the crowd, the energy, but how the energy is feeding the team and vice versa. The Phillies have been a juggernaut at home. That switches. And Paul Sewald also in that same podcast interview talked about, hey, we need the crowd at Chase Field to kind of bring that same type of energy. But to me, it all goes back to what he talked about in that clip, and that is getting off to a better start. I mean, the first pitch of the series hit over the fence. We played Greg Schulte's call. It was kind of a truncated, abbreviated call of that first home run that Kyle Schwarber hit in Game 1. And he ends it. You can hear the disdain in his voice when he says, "What'd I just tell you?" Yeah. Somebody on X actually pulled the full audio of the lead up to that first pitch. Listen to this.
So Gallen ready to go against Kyle Schwarber to lead it off. Schwarber 4 for 25 this postseason, but always a threat up there at the plate. And there's oftentimes, Gandy, where he can really lift this crowd with a long home run to start a ball game.
He's one of those leadoff hitters that really aren't expecting him to get a little base hit, try to steal second base. They're trying to get 1 run on the board real quick.
And his first pitch is hit to right. 1-0 Philadelphia. What'd I just say?
Hey! Yeah. Hey! I received a text from a Philly fan who said, "Man, your play-by-play guy sounds like his shoulders are slumping." And I said, "That's exactly what it sounds like." Hey! Hey!
Well, that's the thing that sucks is that the crowd could be as rabid as we want it to be.
Yeah.
It could be as passionate and energized as we want it. The Phillies get first at bats. They hit 2 home runs in that first inning.
I know. Yeah, listen, and I've been getting texts from my Philly boys in town here. They're telling me there's all sorts of people who've come in from Philadelphia for this one. All sorts of people. So it's just going to be part of the deal. It's going to be part of the deal. And I do feel this way because as a sports town, we are better than the garden variety Philadelphian thinks we are, right? I firmly believe that. You can tell the way Philly and their sports fans are reacting to any diss, small or otherwise. The Merrill Kelly deal.
Yeah.
Okay. That turned into it. And a Philly fan said on social media yesterday, yes, we're petty. You say anything stupid, it's going to be on a T-shirt within 16 minutes. And it's true. And they rally around that stuff because that's how locked into their team they are. And they want you to think that you got to come through us to get them. And that's the way they're rolling right now. And we can't match that.
Philadelphia is known for a lot of things. I did not know that screen printing prowess was one of them, to get those T-shirts turned around so quickly.
And for anybody who actually saw that video that Nick King posted, you get the idea why in the middle of Game 2, the Diamondbacks might have wanted to check out a little bit, especially when the other team is starting to roll and you're hearing that stuff nonstop, right? It's like having an army of trolls on social media, right, Vinny?
I keep going back to that Paul Sewald interview that he did on Foul Territory podcast yesterday, and one of the hosts asked him, what's more annoying, the Phillies players and how they play or the Philly fans? And he's like, yeah, Kyle Schwarber hitting all these home runs is really more annoying than anything else.
Yeah.
And he turned it around and he gave credit to the fans. They're good at what they do. And when their team is rolling, it becomes an even bigger point of pride. It is funny too. We had Jack Fritz on, who was the pre and post game host for the Phillies on WIP earlier this week, and he was at the center of this big Phillies story, and that was the turnaround of Trey Turner. He signed the $300 million deal. He was terrible for the first half of the season for the Phillies, and there was this whole movement to applaud him as opposed to boo him, which is normally the Philly history. And now people are pointing out the silliness in that. It's like Trey Turner is an elite baseball player who earned a $300 million contract. He's one of the best in the game. Did you really expect him not to play better? But they're taking pride in it, and they should. They absolutely should.
Yeah, no, yes, absolutely. So I'll be real curious if things go poorly today, if we get a worst-case scenario kind of game, a continuation of Game 2, what they are going to do tomorrow. Because they've already said Zach Gallen will not be the Game 4 starter. And as I asked Derek, generally an ace of a staff is the guy that, I'll do it, give it to me, I'll take care of this. But Torrey pointed out, and I got to be careful here, I'm not saying that Zach Gallen wouldn't do it, but Zach Gallen's a very intellectual, process-driven guy. Torrey said as much. And they don't want to disrupt that.
Yes.
I wonder if the optics of today's game change that tomorrow.
It's a great question. Is it more dire in that instance to be down 0-3 or to be down 1-2, where you actually have a chance to, with one game and one win? I mean, Zach Gallen on short rest, to me, in my untrained baseball mind, is a lot more palatable than maybe a bullpen game when you're trying to tie up a series.
On the brink of extinction?
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, no, listen, so I do think that's, and Derek, you could tell he was very quick to say, oh, no, Zach will do it. He's not unwilling. But again, this is, I think there's the pitchers that put their hands up to do it, they're different. They're built a bit differently.